All right, now let's go ahead and bring in Ryan Wilson and also Emory Hunt back to join us. Guys, you look at the 2023 NFL draft order. Like I said, Texans, no doubt. We've all expected them to be up there. But you look at it, Seahawks with a high pick now. Lions looking pretty good now. They're got to be rooting for the Rams and the Broncos to sort of spit up on themselves. How do you look at the 2023 draft, and how does it shake out for you guys? We'll start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, it's funny because the Houston Texans, they won this week, but they still have that number 1 overall pick, and you would imagine they'll be in the quarterback business once they get there. Chicago could actually be in the mix for the number 1 pick should the Texans win as we get closer to the end of the season and Chicago continues to lose football games. And then you wonder, our team's going to be willing to trade up to try to get that quarterback, whether it's Bryce Young or someone else, and then the Bears can continue to stockpile picks to improve that football team. And we saw what Denver did this afternoon, and it was sort of hard to watch. Unfortunately, their pick goes to the Seattle Seahawks, who need to fix that defense, and no matter how high that pick gets, they will be able to fix that defense, whether it's with Jalen Carter out of Georgia, whether it's Will Anderson out of Alabama, or should they so decide, they could trade down as well and get stockpile picks in order to fix the defense and perhaps even think about drafting a quarterback. Geno Smith's on that 1-year deal. He's had a great season. He struggled over the second half of the season, no doubt about it. But if that's something they want to think about, they'll have that opportunity because they have a lot of options in front of them now that they have that Broncos pick.
Ryan, I agree with you, man. You talk about two teams that are sitting in the catbird seat. Seattle and Detroit both have those 2 first-round picks. And if you're Seattle, you talk about their defense, depending on what they expect to compete with Geno in terms of the contract or what suitors he may have, they can stockpile those 2 picks and get 2 elite defenders. I'm looking at someone, like you said, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, maybe even a Brian Brzee with the 2nd first-round pick. They're not stout up front within the front 7, and those who can help out tremendously. And if you're the Lions, you can get immediate help on defense, which they need, and also maybe get your quarterback of the future with that 2nd first-round pick. I remember me and you talked last year about, man, it will be a great spot for them to take, someone like Malik Willis with that 32nd pick or that late first-round pick, stash him behind Jared Goff, develop him, because this is the perfect coaching staff and system for a guy that has athleticism, that has mobility. So if you're Seattle and Detroit with the way the Rams and Broncos are playing, you're sitting pretty going into the 2023 draft.
Absolutely. You look at Matthew Stafford and dangerous Russell Wilson going from Detroit and Seattle respectively. So the Lions and the Rams, boy, the Lions and the Broncos feeling pretty good. Real quickly, Ryan, let's go back to you. Top of the draft in 2023. How bullish are you on Bryce Young right now? Still the number 1 overall pick? You think the Texans should go out and take him, or is there enough there with Davis?
Here's the interesting thing. And media and NFL teams are going to be on different sides of this conversation when we talk about Bryce Young. Bryce Young is 5'10", 185. That's about what he played at last year. And when you look at the players drafted in the last 22 years who fit that profile in terms of height and weight, you have Seneca Wallace, and you have Joe Hamilton. Day 3 pick and undrafted free agent. There is no one else like Bryce Young. But NFL teams, if they can talk themselves into what he is capable of doing at the next level, will sell themselves on what Bryce Young can bring despite the height, despite the weight. Because you want to see someone like Will Levis, who's 6'4", 6'5", 225, 230, didn't play quite up to what the expectations were, didn't lift that Kentucky team that struggled along the offensive line, that struggled with the offensive playmakers. Will Levis didn't do what you expect him to do, but Bryce Young did. He didn't have Jalen Waddle. He didn't have Henry Ruggs. He didn't have Jerry Jeudy to help him out in terms of throwing the ball to, and he still dragged that Alabama team nearly to a Final Four appearance. So I think if you're the Houston Texans, and you can overlook history because that's a big part of how this draft process works, Bryce Young is your guy. Now, if he's not, if the Bears somehow end up with the number 1 pick, that's a different conversation. But if I'm making the pick for the Houston Texans, I'm taking Bryce Young all day long, and I'm not feeling bad about it. We haven't seen everything we need to see from Anthony Richardson, who's a fantastic prospect, no doubt about it. Will Levis had a tough year. There's no other way to look about it. C.J. Stroud is a special player, but is he better than Bryce Young? No, he's not. So I'm rolling with Bryce Young if I'm the Houston Texans. We'll see if they do that, and that's what we'll talk about over the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, if we're the Houston Texans, I am swinging for the fences because I don't want to pick number 1 ever again. And the guy that I will be willing to swing the fences for is Anthony Richardson because he embodies a lot of what Ryan talked about, 6'4", 230. But the difference is he has that 4.4, 4.3 speed that can change the game in an instant. In this era of NFL football, you have to be able to move and create and be a +1 in the run game. Richardson gives you that ability, and he gives you that upside that you look for, someone that is still growing into the position. And if you are a coach like Lovie Smith, let's just say Lovie Smith is going to be the head coach next year, which guy do you not want to face? It's Anthony Richardson.
Richardson, big arm, but man, some crazy decisions, a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad picks. But boy, you're looking at an arm and legs. I see where the ceiling is, but man, I'll tell you what, Bryce Young, the production was tremendous in Alabama. And also, you look at Will Levis, 7-5. Looked pretty good, though, Ron, in his, he was throwing the other day. So we'll see what the Houston Texans do, guys. Thank you, guys. Ron Wilson and also Emory Hunt. Thank you, guys. And don't forget, Ron Wilson, more on him. Be sure to check out the With the First Pick podcast. Ron joined by longtime NFL General Manager Rick Spielman, talking all things NFL draft, including mock drafts, prospect, position rankings, and player interviews. With the First Pick podcast is available wherever you get your podcast.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.